Good afternoon and welcome to the Warrior Talk After Show. Today, me and Tim are going to be covering the Warriors versus Miyamura up in Gallup. Me and Tim traveled up to Gallup this week to check out the Warriors, and you know what? I'm just going to jump right into it. That wasn't the best performance I had ever seen.
Uh, Maybe that's why I don't see an impact player sitting here with us today. Um, it was a rough game. Everybody had to contribute about the same amount of fight to get that game won because there was, under the circumstances, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But yeah, it was a rough game, and I think everybody put their part into it. And it's the same thing like we talked to at the beginning of our impact player. Isaiah came through and did a lot of work, and he changed it up pretty good out on the field and make things happen. And I was glad to see that.
Well, of course, but I mean, that's kind of like how we say Isaiah, he's more of a MVP style player. So for us to really choose an impact player, I mean, I guess if we had to choose one for our show, I guess it could have been Isaiah. But the thing is, for me, that was just at times it was a bit frustrating for me.
Well, you played them before, and if I can recall, last year we walked out of that stadium with either it was 40 or 50 point.
Yeah, it was up there. It was up there.
Yeah,
And I believe the season before my senior year, we walked out of that stadium with something similar to a pretty high score. Let's just put it this way: since we've been playing Miyamura, which has been since my senior year, we've never ever been scared by them.
one thing's for sure though, when you go up there, you better take a jacket because it gets cold up there.
You know what? That's true.
I mean, even if it's 85 degrees down here, you get up there. I felt the cold right away. I'm glad I took a jacket with me because it would have been miserable if I hadn't.
Man, right when we pulled up, Tim tells me, he goes, "Man, I'm glad I just decided to throw a jacket in the car, man. I almost didn't bring one."
Well, I had thought about it, and I thought, Miyamura, okay. I remember going up in that little residential area up on the hill, and every time I've been there, it's either been drizzling or it's been really cold. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? And come to think of it, I mean, maybe the cold, I mean, that could most definitely have something of somewhat of an impact on the players, and kind of their performance because they're used to playing under really high temperatures, hot climates, But I don't know. There was a lot of mistakes that were made. I know that you have a lot of the good things written down there in our notebook, but I mean, I'll get into my main thing that I'm going to preach about for a lot. But what is it? What's the main mistake that you saw?
Well, it really wasn't a mistake, but what I saw going on kind of consistently was that new quarterback that they brought in from Miyamura. He's big, he's stout, he's got a good arm, and he's a hell of a runner. And it just took a little bit of effort to try to close the lanes in for him and try to get him down. He'd get some speed on him, and he'd start traveling pretty quick. And I'll tell you what, our guys were catching him, but man, that was after like 23, 24 yards on most carries.
And you know what? And I mean, I'm sure whoever was sitting there in the stands next to me and stuff, and even on the sidelines, they heard me screaming at the players to wrap up. There was a lot of two-hand touch going on in that game, and I wasn't impressed by that at all.
Well, right out of the blocks, they looked flat. I mean, right at the kickoff, they had taken it up for 17 yards at the 17 yards. And then Alex had his first play with a 43-yard gain. And that was probably one of the biggest gains that we had during the game in the first half. And then, Jay Lee, of course, he contributes quite a bit to yardage. He put us right on the 28-yard line, and that set the tempo right there for the first TD that we had. Isaiah did that keeper got us close. I think he put us down on our own 4-yard line.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of the whole deal, and I thought they were set to destroy these guys. And then Jay came in with a carry from the 13-yard line in for the first touchdown, and then the extra point was good, put us up in no time, 0-7.
You know, we got Caden Dow and his magic leg.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? He's got a boot on him.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
for sake of PG, I'll keep my comment to myself about his leg, but it's real good.
yeah, that young man's very handy in all aspects. You know, where we need him, he's there. He performs.
You know, it's not very often that you don't see a touchback come out of him.
Right. Yeah, he boots it. Matter of fact, in all the games that we've been to so far this year, he's been outstanding kicker. Has he missed a field goal?
I don't believe so.
I know one was blocked.
Well, I believe even the one that was blocked, he had contributed with the 2 point by receiving and making a pass or something. So he's doing good.
Yeah. But yeah, that's outstanding. You know, that's why I say it is very good that everybody was contributing and doing a lot to make this game really work in their favor, because it was close. We get down there, make a touchdown. Miyamura get down there, make a touchdown.
I mean, it was neck and neck the whole time. I mean, there was really no real gain between the two teams, you know, because like you were saying, if Socorro would score, Miyamura would score. Socorro would kick a field goal, Miyamura would kick a field goal. There's no.
And then a lot of the times, like when Miyamura had it on their 30-yard line, you know, and that was after the TD they kicked off. They did a couple series of plays and stuff. They had it down on our 30-yard line, and Jacob and David, they went in and they started putting stops to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they kind of doused the flame that Miyamura was starting to come up with.
Yeah, for sure. They were kind of trying to set the tempo on defense, for sure, is what I noticed.
You know, and it's good to get things going fast, you know, and furious, so to speak. But here we go again with Miyamura acting the way they started acting towards the players. You know, I'm just glad that these guys have the common courtesy and the respect to really have discipline out there on the field, because you know when Miyamura started that, I could see the change. I thought, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah, you know what, and that's a genuine concern too, because even when I had played, that was always a main thing. We were trying to keep everybody to stay with a level head, because it's always a dogfight in more than one aspect when you go up there to Gallup.
Right, and then you know the thing is when their number one quarterback was going over and taking the ball, we had, I believe, it was Andreas Gonzalez had stopped them from getting a first down. You know, and they were about ready to go in, and this is getting towards the middle of the second half, and Peter came up, also helped him with a tackle, and for no gain. They weren't really moving the ball anymore. That was frustrating them.
Yeah.
And then's when they start, you know.
And you know what? And
bullying.
And with a team like that, a lot of times it's more psychological warfare than it is anything else, because they'll start to try to target you where it hurts. You know what I mean? Which is up here in your head. They'll try to get in your head, try to get you to act out of place, get you out of the game, because you're becoming a nuisance to them and their offense.
You know, but the good thing about it was it was only hurting Miyamura when they did that, because when they had it pretty close to they were on, I believe it was like our 27-yard line, 28-yard line, mm-hmm. and they had hiked the ball, and that was after, you know, they had blocked the two plays, no gain, and then Isaiah came in, and on the 48-yard line, he, I believe, no, it wasn't the 48. It had to have been the 28-yard line, wasn't it? Where he came in and he caused a fumble. and then he
No,
recovered it.
it was a 48.
It was a 48.
It was a
yard line?
48.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was back on.
Well,
But,
because the ball ended up rolling, but the fumble was initially caused on the 48.
yeah, okay, that's what it was. And that that was a good turnaround right there.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, okay, and it can't be all bad because I got to give credit where credit's due. As frustrating as it was to watch there for a good portion of the game, there was a lot of good that came out of it. And I mean, regardless, and Coach Prime said it this weekend when he came off of his win against Colorado State. There's a lot of stuff that we messed up on, and there's a lot of stuff to be unhappy about, but we're leaving with a win, and I'm going to be happy about that.
Yeah. Well, and then once Miyamura got the ball back again, and they started back up the field, the Warriors, I think they held them all the way. Well, Miyamura made it all the way back to the Warriors' 15-yard line, and then with about 3 minutes and 18 seconds in the first half, Miyamura scored that TD,
and that was to tie it up, right?
Yeah,
7-7.
Yeah, that field goal. I mean, that extra point that they did put it 7-7, and there's where the battle was on. And the thing was, I heard the encouragement on our line. The guys going up and down the bench, they're talking to each other, saying, "Hey, man, it's a game. Come on, we got to turn it on."
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, and Isaiah, a good leader of that club, and he started getting them worked up and getting ready to go out there because he was going to do some magic.
Yeah, you know what, and and it's funny that you say that. Magic is one of the longtime Warrior sayings. Magic make a greater individual commitment, and I feel like Isaiah was doing that all night on Friday.
Well, I have a T-shirt that says that.
Do you?
Remember,
I think I do too. Actually, I think I should.
Probably about your sophomore year, we had some shirts like that. Magic.
Oh yeah, it was my sophomore year.
The black ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but Isaiah was showing magic out there. He was. Warrior Nation. There are only a few days left on the Socorro Warrior Football and Cheer Snap Race fundraiser. There is a link available on the Socorro Warrior Touchdown Club football page to make a donation to Socorro Warrior Football and Cheer. If you are interested in making a personal donation, please reach out to a coach for either football or cheer or an athlete for either football or cheer. Warrior Nation, Socorro Warrior Football is a part of another Warrior Football fundraiser. Visit apo-express.square.site, your official site for Warrior apparel. 20% of each month's profits go directly to your favorite football team. Go Warriors! So coming off of the score that Miyamura just did, tying up the game 7-7, Nazario Silva makes a run to the 37-yard line from the punt. Then Fernie Torres, with a 9-yard catch, puts us on the field very close to a first down, gets us to about 4th and 1.
You don't see him getting the ball too often.
You know what? And you saw him getting the ball pretty good this game.
Yeah, and that was very good, contributing to it. That tells you something. We'll have to keep our eye on him next game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because then, following that play, there was an incomplete pass intended for number 40, Jeremiah Garza. Jeremiah Garza, that's his name, right?
Yes, 40?
40?
Yeah, Jeremiah Garza.
Okay, just making sure I said that name right. And then, number 12, Mr. Magic himself, Isaiah Ocampo, he gives us a huge game to Miyamura's 28-yard line from our 44-yard line. I mean, you want to talk about marching it down the field.
Hey, that, I think, is when they were getting pissed off.
Oh, yeah, I had to say, off of a keeper.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd piss anybody off. Are you kidding?
The good thing about that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're fine.
Whenever Isaiah would take off, he would duke them guys right away, and he would turn their whole line going, like their defense would just shift to the left, and he'd take a step or two, and then he cuts, man. He cuts like a running back.
You know what? And I'm really glad that he does that, because time and time again you see quarterbacks, running directly to the sideline. They run sideways instead of forward. And I'm really glad that his dad is putting it in his head to run strong and run confident.
Yeah, well, he's a strong guy too.
Oh yeah, exactly. So you have number 2, Alex Amato, with a first down catch and run. And then there was an incomplete pass intended for number 10, Jay Lee. And to end the series, number 3, Mr. Fernie Torres makes a catch at the outside corner of the end zone to bring the score to 13-7. And then you have Caden Dow with his freaking boot.
Yeah.
Never missing a field goal, bringing it 14-7. We are up on them by a touchdown and field goal.
You know, it was kind of a little bit of a scary moment when they threw the ball to Lee in the outside, and when they tackled him just before the goal line, he hit hard. You know, he went down pretty hard.
Yeah.
I was glad that he got up fairly quickly and was okay.
You know what? And speaking of hit hard, and I might be speaking a little too prematurely on this, but let's talk about Chase Boykin, man. He had a bit of a scare in the middle of the stadium there.
Yeah, he did.
He did. I was down on the field with him just shortly after his injury, and it was scary. He said that he had lost feeling in his leg there for a little bit.
What was it, his hips?
Yeah, so I believe he has a previous injury with his hips that happened a few seasons ago, you know, in Yaffle or something like that, I believe. And don't quote me on that. I could be wrong.
Well, we'll get him in here and ask him one of these days.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was just, you know, he just got hit in the perfect spot. You know, Charlie Horse from hell, dare I say. And his whole leg went numb, and
they call him a little burner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? And his dad, Chris Boykin, he had tagged me in a post on Facebook, and you have this boy right here, stubborn as ever. He's out training right now, trying to gain mobility and strength back in his leg and hip again. I mean, and he's training good too. So, I mean, I don't know if we can expect him back this upcoming week, but I know that he's not going to be gone for long.
Right? And then, you know, when the next series that Miyamura had, don't forget they about ended their series of plays with that block to the back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, they went on a few more series. Finally, they made a first down, and then they ended the quarter with
they were down a touchdown, right?
Yeah, 7-14. The Warriors were up.
And so, you know, in the stands, you're thinking like, okay, well, you know, they got lucky with this first score. We're starting to turn it around. But then you start up the second quarter, and why don't you go ahead and tell them about that second quarter?
Well, it's you know, after the 3 plays with Miyamura, you know, after they had fumbled the ball again, and the refs, here's where they started getting a little bit sour on us, because again, the referees went ahead and called the ball down, you know. Mm-hmm. And that was a bad call because it wasn't down. It was an actual fumble from.
Right.
I mean, I was sitting right there facing the play when it was coming towards me.
Yeah.
And you could see the ball came out of the hands, you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then it I don't know, it just got real bad, and it wound up on the 21-yard line, and so I don't know. It probably got to everybody's mind, you know, on
yeah.
It started getting them down and stuff because the plays that they were calling, because even before this series of plays started, we got sent back, I don't know, 3 penalties, consecutive penalties. And then when Miyamura gets the ball, hell, they go on 2 consecutive first downs.
Yeah.
And all that whole grouping of series there were all due to the referees calling the game they wanted to call it.
You know what? And there was one time in particular, I think this might have been outside the half. So like I say, I might be speaking prematurely on this one, but you know, the head official, he probably ran back and forth from sideline to sideline about 5 times trying to figure out what the confusion was on a specific penalty, whatever the penalty was. I never did catch what that penalty was.
Well, it was a dead ball foul, and I believe they were trying to give Socorro 15 yards.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's ridiculous. I mean, you know, everyone knows the rule. So Coach Ocampo came ecstatic on the sideline.
Right.
He told the ref, "Hey, you saw what happened. You know what's going on. aren't you throwing a flag or anything? And this guy heard him what he said. He said, I didn't see it. Okay, how can he not see it when there's
he said, how am I supposed to see a penalty from this sideline?
Yeah.
That's what he said.
But, and here's the thing about it. Penalties that were being created on his side of the field, they were calling them on the other side. The line judge on the other side of the field was calling them.
Right.
So why doesn't it work both ways, you know? And but it was obvious because when they went to go talk to the umpire about it, at first the umpire went along with the doing the penalty right, just giving a 5-yard penalty. But then all of a sudden, he kept the ball right there where he had put it down, and said put the play in action, give it to Miyamura. So that's what started all of the animosity on the field right after that whole series of plays went on. And then, but anyway, let's see, Miyamura, they fumbled the ball again, and then the refs had called it back, and, on a couple bad calls. So anyway, we went on with that, and then they went on to the 21-yard line, and then they had taken an overthrown pass from Miyamura, and then after that one, they had done a run play, and it was 4th and 9, and they were on the 9-yard line, and they went for it, and they made the first down on the Socorro, I believe. I don't remember what yard line it was on, but they made it on Socorro yard line, and they took the next play in for a touchdown, and the extra point was good, and that put Miyamura up 14-14, and that's when we had the battle, because then it started getting real ugly, the game after that.
Yeah. You know what? There was a specific part of the game that stood out to me. I believe it was they had come out from half, and did you see that when they were on defense and they kind of huddled together, and all of a sudden it looked like it was a new team getting out there?
Yeah.
That they kind of cleared their heads real quick and said, you know what? Hold on, let's. Yeah. And also, I got to throw this out there. It's understandable that officiating is always going to be interesting, to a team, whether you're the home team or away team. But the NMAA is now cracking down really heavily on foul language and foul manners towards officials. So, for sake of keeping us strike free here at Socorro High, I ask you on behalf of Warrior Talk Podcast and the Warrior Talk After Show to dial it down just a couple notches. And I get it, because I was getting frustrated as well. But on behalf of Socorro High School, the Warrior Talk Podcast, and the After Show, we ask you to tone it down just a hair. Visit APO Express at 705 North California Street, your one-stop shop for Warrior apparel. Do you have a sweet tooth? Well, I know just the place. Visit Candyland at 705 North California Street to fill all your candy cravings. This production is brought to you by 6112 Entertainment. For all of your entertainment and DJing needs, reach out to myself, Moises Castillo. Loma Theater. For showtimes and ticket pricings, visit lomatheater.com. And as always, for letting us film and record in their fine establishment, Que Suave Cafe, serving the community and youth one cup at a time.
And getting back to putting a halt to Miyamura's progressions, Jacob Angel, when just before the half had ended, he stopped that drive. They were going down pretty strong, and I think it was like 42 seconds left in the game, and I think they had the ball at the 20-yard line, and after 2 plays, they never made it in.
Right.
Jacob stopped the whole series, and we wound up getting the ball back, and we were skipping. I mean, Isaiah was just moving the ball right down the field, and then after about 2 plays, Ocampo to Jay, they made that other touchdown just before the half, and I think that spoiled Miyamura's what would you say, the progression of
Their efforts.
They were getting all riled up, when the refs were there helping them out a little bit, but then the extra point that we scored gave us the lead at the half at 21-14. So that right there gave us a good boost. Something, like when you go in the locker room with that kind of stuff, it's pretty good. And then when they started the kickoff to Miyamura, the defense held those guys back pretty good, and they had to kick the ball right away back to Socorro. It was a 3-and-out.
Yeah.
So, these guys came up and, excuse me, they started playing with some heart. Like, I agree with you. They looked a little flat, but it might be the awkwardness that Miyamura was. I mean, their plays were kind of there, but man, they were scattered everywhere.
I guess my main gripe with the Warriors would be the defense and their inability to make a tackle. Really, that would be my main gripe. There were several, and I mean several scenarios where they were hitting them, they were tapping them, they were doing a little two-hand touch action, but none of them. It seemed like none of them were willing to wrap up and bring someone down.
I noticed,
and that's my main thing. That's what I was screaming out there at the top of my lungs, was to wrap up, and because you're never going to bring nobody down just tapping them, just shoving them. You're never going to. I don't care.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, like I was saying, once that quarterback got the ball and took off, it was hard for them to even wrap up because he was running them over, and
right.
But I see what you're saying. There's no excuse for it. I mean, when they're coming at you, you got to hook onto them like a crab.
Come on, it's middle school, that is quite literally basic fundamentals that you learn is to wrap up.
Yeah, and then too, well, like we were talking about when the game started going south, after it became a lopsided game, as far as the referees were concerned, and calling penalties against Socorro, and then moving the Warriors back. They were moving Socorro back faster than we were going forward with good plays.
Yeah, they were.
And then because of that, and here's another bad thing, because like you mentioned with the fans and all that, it's a two-sided street. It's not just. I know how the NMAA they do their best to get officials that officiate right, and they leave it to their judgment. And hopefully, for the most part, everyone does a very good job from what I've seen.
Right.
This ball game, you could tell wasn't right. I mean, you could blatantly see it wasn't right, and that's what got people on Socorro's sidelines really pissed off because of the refs making bad calls, and it wasn't just every now and then, it was just consistently.
Right.
And but there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to abide by the rules.
Well, and you know what, and I mean, like I say, as frustrated and as mad as I was, and still kind of am, I got to give credit where credit's due, because the Warriors, they were most definitely playing with a 12th man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or playing against a 12th man, and they still came out on top with a victory.
Well, that Ocampo to Jay Lee for the touchdown, in the third quarter, and then Dow made another extra point, which was good. Like we're saying, he scored. No, wait, they did did they do a 2-point conversion then?
I want to say yes.
Extra point. Yeah, it was good. Give me
No.
Second score. No,
it wasn't 14, a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, that's right.
Because what happened was there was a penalty called, and the penalty was enforced after Miyamura had made a touchdown, and the penalty was enforced on the extra point And so Miyamura lined up in their offensive form, and they went for the 2-point, and the Warriors completely stopped them, and that's how they ended up winning by the 1 point.
Hey, and that was weird because they called the penalty on the touchdown play.
Right.
And they never took the score.
Well, but the thing is, if they don't take the score, typically, at least from what I've seen, and I could be wrong, but if they keep the score on a penalty involving the score, they enforce the penalty on the kickoff.
Okay, but this wasn't a kickoff. This was an extra point.
But no, that's what I mean. So I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know what happened there and why it was enforced on the extra point.
Yeah. Well, that's new football to me because I've never seen that happen. But things do happen. But anyway, we went on, and it was I guess it was 14-28, and that was showing them that we had no stop. Socorro was right in the game. They stayed in it. All the guys fought. Our defense was battling out real good, and our offense was giving Jeremiah time to do the things that Jeremiah had to do. And like you said, unfortunately, Boykin got hurt. I think he's the only one that got hurt.
Him and Jacob. Jacob just had a bit of a stinger, though,
Yeah.
I believe, because Jacob was able to get up and get back in. Boykin was more of a, he needed a rest and kind of stretch out there on the sideline because I don't know, it was just a tricky situation.
And then, while those guys were out, Socorro kicked the ball to Miyamura, and then about five plays later, Socorro had the ball back again.
Yeah.
And it was no big thing. So, I guess in all, the game went pretty good. A win's a win, whether you make 1 point or however you get it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could be pretty pissed off with many aspects of the game, but you got to leave happy because you won.
Yeah.
You got to be a little bit happy. And also, big shout out to the Popeyes chicken over there in Gallup. That was some of the best Popeyes I'd had in a long time.
That was really good, yeah. But yeah. So anyway, the score wound up 28 Socorro to 21 Miyamura, and then we went into the last portion of the game. The Socorro defense was having a little bit of a hard time containing that number one of Miyamura from then, and but they did nevertheless, and they kicked the ball back to the Warriors, and after a good series of downs, they had the ball down on Miyamura's 30-yard line, and Socorro couldn't gain any yards once they were down on the 30-yard line, and again, the referees had to give the ball to, or we had to give the ball up because of the penalties that they were calling to Miyamura again.
Right.
So that was about the size of the game. It went all the way through. We finally had where they scored 20. They made 6 more points, and
that was that extra point I was telling you about that got deflected. So
right.
they took it to 27-28
at the end of the game.
At the end of the game, and so the Warriors walked away with a win by 1 point, courtesy of a our unsuccessful extra point attempt.
Our defense on our punt blocking was very, very good, and like I say, when these guys needed to shine, they shined.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's true.
And they held on. To win, I think by 1 point is a lot harder to win than if you win by 50 points.
But that shows fight. That shows a lot of fight within them.
Yeah.
And it shows that, it ain't over till it's over.
Right. And I think Coach Ocampo got in there, made the changes in the plans, and adapted the game to come off winning in a victory of no matter how he could, but he won it,
Yep.
And that was very good. And I thank the Warriors for another win. And who are we playing next week?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Next week, 9/22/2023, September 22nd, 2023, and ladies and gentlemen, I believe that is a Friday. We got ourselves a home game for some Friday Night Lights against Raton.
Oh, Raton's coming down, huh?
Raton's coming down.
Well, one good thing, they'll be good and tired when they get here. So,
yep, that's for sure.
good luck to them because I think we're gonna give them a spanking.
I think so too. Hey, back in the day, the Warriors they hunted tigers,
Oh yeah,
and that's what we're fixing to do to
just
Raton.
just like it was bear season up there the other day. But I'll tell you what, congratulations to the Warriors. You guys fought a good battle, and very proud of all of you guys. Keep winning and go Warriors.
Go Warriors. And always remember, when it comes to a place like Socorro, only Warriors survive.